Hello and welcome to Wrestling with Real Estate, where we look to chokeslam all your real estate problems. I'm your host, former WWE wrestler and now Cirque du Soleil performer, and of course, multi-family real estate investor Barry Griffiths. Now today we're joined by Yosef Lee again for the second part of this fantastic interview. Hey Yosef, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm great, Barry. Thank you for having me again. I'm very excited to this second part.
Yeah, we just wrapped up the first part, so that was awesome. So again, if you guys haven't listened to the first part, please go back and listen to that first part. There's a lot of great stuff in, great. Joseph has a great story to start off with, but he shares a lot of great information about capital raising, how he got started, and just the scale that he's grown to now. So I think there's a lot of good stuff in there to unpack. So if you go back and listen to that, and then come back and listen to this episode. But today we're going to be focused on your first deal. We're going to take a deeper dive into your first deal, and you said that you started out investing in multifamily, right? A lot of people start out single family, duplexes, flipping, wholesaling, they start out small and then kind of get to multifamily. But you started out with your first ever deal was a 44 unit. So I think that's really cool. And I think that's an inspiring story, I think, for a lot of people as well, who maybe don't want to flip, who don't want to own single family. They want to start off bigger, start off with that scale. So that's cool.
Yeah.
And tell us quickly, for someone who may not have listened to that first interview, what was your mindset around, going from multifamily to starting with, a 44 unit deal property?
Well, in the beginning, I was listening to Michael Blank and Grant Cardone mainly, right? In the beginning of my self-education stage. And I don't know if you know Michael Blank, before coming to multifamily, he used to be a single family flipper, he said. At one of his episodes, he said that. And then he was like, after years of single family flipper experience, he came to multifamily and he made a lot of money, was very successful, but the lenders and brokers were not treating him as if he's an experienced one. They were treating him as if he's a newbie. So looking back now, he said he probably could have just jumped into a multifamily right away without going through single family flipping. And I listened to that. And then Grant Cardone, what does he say all the time? Don't even bother looking below 16 units, right? Always go big. So these two people, if they think that's the right way, I think I can do that. That was my initial mindset. And second, to me, while doing the self-education, to me, essentially below 5 units and above 5 units, multifamily or single, or bigger multifamily, these two groups are, I guess, essentially different animals, right? So the approach is different, education is different, the way you need to deal with the lender and broker is different. So essentially, you're talking about two different animals. So to me, it didn't really make sense to learn or start with single or duplex, a small multifamily, to get to the bigger multifamily. To me, it was like, it's one is bear hunting and the other one is fox hunting. It's like, okay, to learn bear hunting, do you have to learn how to hunt fox? I don't think so. Years later, what you probably end up getting is, maybe a little peace of mind that I tried hunting, so now maybe I should try bear. But essentially, the strategy and tactics are all different. So I had that in mind. So that's what kind of motivated me to just jump into the multifamily right away.
Yeah,
The big
very
ones.
cool. Yeah, and I think you said that a large part of you being able to do this was a mastermind group and the coaching program that you joined. So I think
Yes,
we talked a lot more about that in the first one, so people can hear
you can
that.
refer
But
that.
yeah. But I think that's cool, and I think that's the power of joining a group like that, is because multifamily can seem scary, right? But I mean, 44 units for your first deal is kind of scary. But I think another good thing here is that you partnered, right? So you could take down a 44 unit as your first deal by yourself, but you partnered with people.
You have to.
What was your mindset behind partnering? Because people are also scared of partnering as well, right? Scared of, I want to do the deal myself and keep all the profits myself. I want to, have the control. I think is a big part for a lot of people as well.
Mhm.
What was your mindset behind partnering with people?
Partnering is, now looking back, it's something that is necessary to tackle down the multifamily, because you can't just do it yourself if you're starting, because you don't have that credibility. The lender, I was giving this example to a lot of people. Let's say you found a 50 unit apartment yourself somehow, broker, you have friend who was bringing the deal to you, and this cash flowing beautiful property, and everything looks perfect. You bring it to the lender will love the property, but he's going to ask you, great. I wanna lend you money. This is a great property. Tell me who in your team has an experience of managing this size of the deal. And unless you say, oh, my friend so and so is a GP on 200 unit or at least 50 unit or 100 unit, the lender is not going to be feel comfortable lending you money, right? So you don't have that credibility yet. So you need to create a team, partner up with someone who's experienced and or someone who has different skill sets. And together, that's how you tackle down the big deal. Otherwise, you just can't get the deal. Like you can't close.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting. Well, tell us more about the numbers on this one, and like what did you buy it for? You know, what was the business plan on it? Why did you like the deal? You know, tell us all the good stuff about the deal.
Sure. Again, it's a C-class property, 43 unit in Kansas City, 1960s. But first of all, unit, I really like that all the units are 2 bedroom and 1 bath, no single, no studio. So that's a good thing because it gives us some security of a family will come and stay, right? As opposed to studios is always single or, young couple who's going to be more turnaround. So that was good. And this was a seller direct off market deal. We had this property from one of the partners' friend who knew the seller, so we didn't have any competition there. So we ended up giving him the finder's fee, but even with that, it was a great deal. We were able to directly speak to the seller, so it was cool. And then the seller was so motivated. I think he wanted to get rid of this property and go to bigger property, like 100 plus units. So he was very motivated. The first condition that he had when we tried to buy this was, we'll let you close this. We'll go to contract if you promise that you can close this in 2020. That was back in October. So we said, hell yeah, we want to do it. We want to close it as soon as possible. Well, I mean, having necessary terms and due diligence intact. So that was his condition. So he was very motivated. And so that's how we submitted our LOI, and they accepted it in September. And we got that under contract in October. So that's how we started. More so, another part that we liked about the property was the rent was about at least $100 to $200 below market per month, actually, compared to the surrounding apartments. There was another apartment that's pretty much mirror sized apartment, because I think we believe what happened was in the beginning, the developer probably developed 88 unit apartment complex, and then he probably cut it in half and sold it to 2 different owners because it's exactly same mirror image, right? That apartment is already charging about $200 more than our apartment without having any significant improvement of the condition of the apartment. So we had that huge upside in the deal, and the apartment was already over 90% economic occupied. So that number was great. We had a meat on the bone. So we had a business plan of, for the next year and a half or two, we will turn every unit and raise at least $150 to catch up the market rent, and we'll do cash out refi. That was our business plan.
That's very cool, and that's a perfect rent comp that you have there, right? The exact same building, exactly the same units.
Oh yeah.
You can feel right next door. That's something you can feel confident on being able to get. That's pretty much having the same property, getting it proven out on the property that you're buying. So
yes,
that's pretty cool. How did you guys finance this? Did you have to find a local bank? Were you able to go agency debt? How did you guys finance it?
This one we used local banks so that we could do a loan to cost. So we did 80% loan to cost. So what that means is the lender, the local community bank, actually funded 80% of the property purchase price and the 80% of the rehab budget that we had.
How big was the rehab budget that you guys had on this?
We had about $250,000. So they
wow.
actually funded 80% of that. And so it was 4% interest rate, 25% amortization, 18 months IO, interest only. And we had to develop the reserve for upfront tax and insurance for a year. So So, but which were all worked out well, and we're okay. We're good with the terms. It was a great term, 4%.
Yeah, that's a pretty good loan. What kind of term did you guys? 5-year term, maybe?
Term 10 year.
10-year term. Okay. So the term is essentially, for people who don't know, is essentially when the balloon comes, right? You can either refinance, sell, or sometimes it adjusts to an adjustable rate
Mhm.
at that point, depending on the loan. Well, why did you guys go for 10? Were you guys planning on holding it for a long term, or do you just guys want to have that long term debt on it so that it would give you that freedom to not have to worry about any maturity?
So thankfully, I mean, including myself and all my partners, our philosophy is let's hold this for the rest of our lives, right? And then um, possibly pass it down to our kids. So for the long-term generational wealth. So we wanted to a term for the as longest as possible, and then we're gonna cash out refi, go into another term, 10-year and 10-year. That way we could hold it for the longest time.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Because you've got to match your term and how long you get that debt for with your business plan. With you guys holding it long term, it doesn't matter. But some people, if you're planning to sell it in 2 years, right, a 10-year term wouldn't be as good, right? Because then you might have a large prepayment penalty that could really hurt you and hurt your business model. So I think that's always an important point that I think is like long-term debt is cool, but you've got to make sure that it matches up with your business model.
Yes.
So, you had an interesting story about due diligence that you mentioned on the first part. Tell us a little bit about what happened during due diligence.
Right. So this is C-class property with a lot of deferred maintenance, right? So throughout the due diligence, we were doing inspections, and we found some plumbing issues, mold, mildew, and termites. But these issues, the seller took care of it before closing, so it was fine. However, the roof and HVAC system were very old, so we told the seller that this is too much. So we want you to fix this before closing as well. The seller kind of refused it and saying, "How about I just give you the credit and then you guys fix it later after closing?" Because I think he just didn't want to bother. So yeah, we said, I think about $100,000 will do, and he said, "Okay, go get it." $100,000 credit was given, so we were actually able to purchase the property $100,000 lower than the contract price. And later, we recently fixed all the roofings, and we exchanged some HVAC systems, and the price came out to be below 70,000, something 60 something. So like we actually netted about $30,000 from this, well, not retrade, but from this credit.
Yeah, that's great. That's the way to do it, right? You can make money on that
That's
as
a
well.
way, right.
How did that? Was that a tough negotiation? Because obviously they call it a retrade, right? And in the business, one of the worst things you can be known as is a retrader, right? But you seem like you guys had a valid point here. The HVAC systems were older and beat up, and the roofs
Mhm,
needed replacing. How did that
mhm.
negotiate? How did you approach the seller with that? Was it just a simple fact of, hey, these are done for, we need the replacing, or did how did that negotiation go about?
Well, I think the negotiation was smooth. We did some research on how much this will cost, and I think we accepted certain beats from nearby subcontractors and service companies, and then my boots on the ground partner knew the in general, like prices, how much is we need to spend for HVACs and all that. So he actually in accumulating all that information and prices, and I think he added a little more there, and then that's how we try to get that. But it worked,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It
yeah.
wasn't. I don't think it was hard or anything. The seller was being reasonable.
Okay, that's good. That's always good. Yeah, I'm guessing your partner maybe thought, let me start high and then we can come down to where it is, and then accept.
I think that's what happened.
And then the seller's like, okay, I'll accept that. So
I recall him said I think he was also surprised, like he took it.
that's great. That's great in a good way, right? Yeah, absolutely. So what are some big takeaways or some big lessons that you learned from this deal? You think that you can share with people?
uh I think first of all, having a boots on the ground partner. I mean, some people they said, "Oh, I'll just find a property management company and I'll manage out of state." But having a boots on the ground partner was actually, I think it was critical for my team, because he could just actually go to the property and make sure things are moving and all the rehabs and now the turnings and renovations, if everything is going well with the planning, right? And he is part of our company, so that's how we are also for sure that he's gonna do his part, right? And actually, he's way above our expectation, my expectation. He's a great guy, and his work ethic and everything. So that was good. And another takeaway from the deal is, um, we did about 40 underwritings before finding this one, 30 or 40. Uh, the good deal doesn't just come right away. I think you gotta just constantly underwrite the deals to find 30, 40 to find this one deal. But this one deal, I think we already got the return on investment, right? So it was a great deal. And then knowing the market was great, like knowing the price of the roofing and HVAC and doing some research throughout the inspections, we're able to get that much of credit and even more from them. And that is actually affecting our business execution and business plan, right? Because we could use that credit to fix the roofs and everything. It's actually saving our rehab budget that we actually budgeted before. So we have extra money in the account now, sort of.
And out of interest, how does that work with that account? If you don't draw it, you don't pay for it. You know, with the bank financing 80% of that renovation.
The loan to cost part, the rehab.
Yeah. So if you don't use any, you have to use all that money, or if you don't use it, they don't charge you. How does that work?
So that money is there as like a line of credit, so to say. So, but since it's the way it works is you fix something first as CapEx, right? And then you submit that for reimbursement. That's how you get that money. So, however, if you don't use it, it's there, and you will lose it later on. If, let's say, we refi and move on to different loans, then we're gonna waste it. So you have to set like specific business plans to spend all that money and get it reimbursed. Even for this roof, for example, we didn't fix all 6 roofs and then get it reimbursed. We did first batch, and then we got it reimbursed and used that reimbursed money to do the second batch, and then got it reimbursed in the third.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, right? Is that you need to have some money up front, even though if you're getting most of the renovation budget financed, you need work, like you said, to get the first piece of work done, whatever that first phase is, because then they're going to reimburse you for that first phase, and then you need to move on to the second one. So you have to have it perfectly planned out, or essentially understand how everything is going to look. You can't just be like, okay, they're paying for my renovation budget, I don't need to worry about everything. You need to have everything planned out, when you're going to do it and when you're going to get that money back, so that everything runs smoothly.
Yes.
Well, cool. Yosef the Brosev, that's what you said in the first one, right? That everyone calls you these days. I like that a lot. So, but Yosef, that was cool, story about the first property that you did, that it was 44 units, that you partnered, that, you guys got a great loan on it, and that, you've managed to negotiate some money back from the seller, and that it worked out. So really cool story, man. I appreciate you sharing that. I appreciate
my pleasure.
Deep dive into that. But before we wrap up, if people want to reach out to you, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do so?
Again, I'm very active on social media. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Insta. Just type Yosef Yourbrosef, YOURBROSEF, and we'll be connected. I'm very approachable. I love to network on Zoom call or Hangout or whatever it is. Just reach out to me. Let's network.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, man. This has been a great interview. It's great two-part interview. So it's been a pleasure hearing your story and hearing about that. Congratulations on all your success, man, and thank you again.
Thank you very much, Barry, for having me. I had a great time.